The stars were quiet as the massive human warship moved through space. The ship was called the Black Dawn. Its shape was smooth and dark, like a shadow against the stars. It gave off no lights, no signals, and no welcome. Captain Laura Green stood on the bridge. Her eyes were cold, and her face showed no emotion. She watched the screen in front of her. The planet below was full of life. Ships moved in the sky, and lights blinked from the cities. But none of that mattered to her. Her second in command, Jacob Barnes, looked worried. He walked up beside her and spoke in a quiet voice. They sent a message again. Captain, they are asking to talk. Laura did not look at him. Ignore it. But this is the third message. They say they want peace. They say they do not understand why we are here. Laura turned her eyes to him. Her voice was calm. We are not here to explain. We are here to show. Jacob stepped back. He had worked with her for years, but he had never seen her like this. Something had changed in her. In all of them, the Talathans were the first to see the ship. They were proud people, tall, with silver skin and bright eyes. They ruled many systems and had a long history. When they saw the Black Dawn near their space, they thought it was lost. They sent ships to help. When no answer came, they sent diplomats. One of them, named Kalar, spoke to the Galactic Assembly. This ship does not speak. It does not stop. We tried to help, but it moves with purpose. We do not know its goal, but it brings fear. The assembly was a group of many races. They met in a great hall made of stone and glass. Some of them spoke of peace. Others spoke of old stories about humans. Many believed humans were long gone. Others thought they were just weak and forgotten. Chairwoman Dana Brooks stood in the center. She was human, but not part of Earth. She had lived with aliens most of her life. We must wait, she said. Let us not assume anything. Perhaps they come in peace. But the Black Dawn did not stop. It moved near a small moon where the Talathans had a mining colony. The people there were busy and happy. They lived in simple homes and worked with machines. They saw the ship in the sky and sent a message. They asked who it was. They asked what it wanted. There was no answer. Then the sky turned white. The ship fired its weapons. Fire covered the ground. Buildings broke apart. People ran, but there was no place to go. In less than 10 minutes, the colony was gone. Ash blew in the wind where homes once stood. Jacob Barnes stood on the bridge and watched it happen. He turned away, his hands shaking. They were not soldiers, he said. They were families. Laura said nothing. Her face stayed cold below the deck. In the engine room, engineer Megan Blake worked quietly. She had joined the mission to explore, not to destroy. She did not understand why they were doing this. She asked questions, but no one answered. The logs were locked. The past was hidden. Lieutenant Eric Lane also began to wonder. He had been a soldier for 10 years. He had seen war, but not like this. This was something else. This was not defense. This was not justice. What are we becoming? He asked Megan one day. She looked at him. I don't know, but I think we were lied to. Far away, in the heart of the Talathan Confederacy, news spread. People cried. Leaders grew angry. The assembly met again. Kalor returned to speak. They did not talk. They did not warn. They came. And they destroyed. If we do not act now, more will die. Some members wanted to fight. Others still hoped for peace. A few feared the truth. The humans had returned, and they were not the same. On the Black Dawn, Laura Green gave new orders. Send probes, gather data on nearby planets. Jacob looked at her. Are we going to destroy them too? She looked out the window. If they are part of the assembly, then yes. Jacob did not speak again. He walked away. In her quarters, Laura sat alone. She looked at a small photo. It showed a planet covered in green forests and blue oceans. People smiled in the picture. Children played. She closed her eyes and held the photo close. They forgot us, she whispered. Now we remind them. The Black Dawn moved on, silent, cold, powerful. In the stars above, a storm was coming, and it had the face of humanity. The lights in the Galactic Assembly Hall were dim. Leaders from across the galaxy sat in silence. The Talathan delegate, Kalos, stood at the center. His voice was calm, but his eyes were filled with sorrow. The colony is gone, he said. No warning, no chance. They killed without mercy. Whispers filled the chamber. Screens showed images of the destroyed moon. Ash covered the ground. No life remained. Chairwoman Dana Brooks looked at the pictures. She was silent for a moment, then spoke. We need more proof. One ship does not speak for all of Earth. Cal looked at her with anger. You wait while they burn planets. Will you wait until it is your world? Many delegates nodded. Others looked down. Fear had started to grow. On the Black Dawn, Captain Laura Green stood in the strategy room. Maps of nearby systems floated in the air. Red circles marked important planets. Jacob Barnes entered the room. He looked tired. New message from the assembly, he said. They say we must explain ourselves. Laura did not turn. She stared at the map. We don't owe them anything. Jacob walked closer. They think this is war. Laura shook her head. This is not war. This is justice. Jacob left the room without a word. He knew she would not listen. Not anymore. Down in the ship's lower levels, Megan Blake worked on the energy systems. The ship used a strange power. It came from tech that most of the crew did not understand. She had questions, but no one gave answers. She had found a hidden file. It was old and covered in layers of security. She unlocked it slowly over many days. When she finally saw what was inside, she sat down and stared. It was a message from Earth. A message sent long ago. It showed Earth's cities burning. It showed alien fleets attacking, and it showed the assembly watching and doing nothing. Earth had been left to die. Megan closed the file. Her hands shook. She now understood why the Black Dawn had been built. It was not for defense. It was for revenge. Lieutenant Eric Lane walked in and saw her face. What did you find? He asked. The truth, she said. And it's worse than we thought. In space near the border of the Sarn League, another ship appeared. It was smaller than the Black Dawn, but just as silent. It was called the Iron Wake. The ship moved slowly toward a large shipyard orbiting a planet called Tyros Prime. Workers on the shipyard sent messages. They received nothing in return. They waited, hoping it was a mistake. Then, without a sound, the Iron Wake fired. The shipyard exploded in a bright light. Metal and bodies floated in space. Escape pods tried to run, but they were destroyed too. The news spread fast. People screamed in the assembly. The Sarn League demanded action. These ships are killing everyone, said one delegate. We must stop them now. Back on Earth, President Helen Carter gave a short speech. Her face was serious. Long ago, we asked for peace. We were given silence. Now the galaxy will hear our answer. She did not say more. She did not need to. On the black dawn, Laura stood in her private room. She looked at a small model of Earth. She held it in her hand. Megan and Eric came to speak with her. "Captain, we found something," Megan said. Laura looked at them. Her face showed no fear. "I already know," she said. "I saw the message years ago. I watched Earth fall. I saw the assembly do nothing." Eric stepped forward. "But this is too much. You're killing people who were not even alive when Earth was attacked." Laura turned away. Then they should have stopped their leaders. They should have spoken up. Jacob Barnes entered the room. "Another message from the assembly. They're begging now. They say they will talk. They will give Earth a seat again." Laura looked at him. "They offer words. We offer memory." Jacob lowered his eyes. He did not answer. That night, Eric sat alone in his room. He looked out the window at the stars. So many worlds, so many lives. He thought of the children on the colony. He thought of their faces. Megan sat beside him. "We can't stop her." "No," Eric said, "but maybe we can show the others. Maybe not everyone on this ship wants to be part of this." They made a plan. A small one, a simple one. They would send the truth to the galaxy. The message Megan found, the images, the history that would show what happened to Earth and what the assembly did. Maybe then someone would understand. The Black Dawn moved again. Another planet came into view. Another target. Laura gave the order. Weapons ready. Engines full power. And far away, in the heart of the galaxy, people watched the sky and waited. Some prepared to fight. Some prepared to run. And some just prayed. Dark shapes moved through space. Ships without names, without flags. The galaxy had seen one warship before. Now there were many. The Black Dawn was no longer alone. The Iron Wake drifted through the stars near the edge of the Chiral Empire. Another, called the Steel Echo, floated near the Tovan trade worlds. Everywhere they went, fear followed. The ships did not speak. They did not answer. They only watched. On the Black Dawn, Captain Laura Green stood by the command window. Her eyes followed the stars. Her crew worked in silence. No one questioned her. Not anymore. Jacob Barnes sat in the war room. He looked at the list of ships now active. There were 9, all human, all built in secret. He looked at a file marked with a red symbol. It was a record of the program that made the ships. It was called Project Silent Return. He had read the first lines many times. The galaxy turned its back on Earth. Earth will now return the silence. Megan, Blake, and Eric Lane were busy in the lower deck. They had found a way to send a message. It was risky. If caught, they would be locked away, or worse. "We have to try," Megan said. "We have to let the galaxy see the truth." Eric nodded. He looked at the small device she had made. It was hidden inside a power cable. It would send the files to any listening station. They waited for the right moment. When the ship was near a beacon, they sent the message. Far across the galaxy, in a station above a quiet moon, a young technician named Leo saw the signal. He opened the file. At first, he thought it was a trick, but as he watched, his face changed. He saw Earth's fall. He saw ships burning. He saw the assembly's silence. Then he saw the Black Dawn rise from the shadows. Leo called his commander. Within hours, the message spread. Some believed it, some did not, but all who saw it felt a cold wind move through their hearts. In the Galactic Assembly, chaos grew. The leaders yelled, some wanted to fight, some wanted to hide, a few asked for peace. Chairwoman Dana Brooks stood in the center again. She looked tired. We must take action, she said. We must speak to them. We must admit what we did. But it was too late. Above the green world of Varelia, the Black Dawn arrived. Varelia was rich in life. Forests, oceans, cities, families lived in peace. They had no army. They trusted the assembly. When the ship came, the skies turned dark. The people looked up and waited. They had heard of the humans. Some thought they would be spared. They were wrong. A fleet of assembly ships stood in orbit. They sent a message. To the Black Dawn, you are outnumbered. Turn back. Laura did not answer. She walked to the command chair and gave one order. Fire. The ship's weapons lit up. Blue light cut through the stars. Enemy ships exploded. Their shields meant nothing. The Black Dawn moved like a shadow. Every shot hit. Every move was perfect. Within an hour, the fleet was gone. The weapons turned to the planet. Jacob Barnes stood behind her. There are millions down there, he said. They are not innocent, Laura replied. Some are, he said. Some are just children. Laura's voice was cold. Earth had children too. She gave the order. The ground burned. Cities broke apart. Forests became smoke. Varelia died. Megan watched from the lower deck. She cried. Eric stood beside her, fists clenched. We failed, he said. We warned them, and they did nothing. Megan looked at him. Maybe they will now. Jacob went to his quarters. He opened a small box. Inside was a picture of his sister. She had died when Earth fell. He closed the box and looked in the mirror. What are we becoming? He asked. The news of Varelia spread fast. Worlds panicked. Planets closed their skies. Trade routes stopped. The assembly called for help, but there was no plan. No one knew how to stop the ships. The other warships waited. They did not move, but their message was clear. They could destroy. They would destroy. In deep space, a small science ship passed by the ruins of Tyros Prime. The crew saw the broken metal. They saw the silence. One of them said, "This is what happens when you forget." On Earth, President Helen Carter watched the reports. Her advisors asked her to stop the attacks. She said nothing. She walked alone to a quiet room. On the wall was a photo of Earth before the fall. She touched it gently. We begged for peace, she said. Now they will beg for it. Back on the Black Dawn, Laura Green looked at the stars. She felt nothing. Only the mission mattered. Jacob came to her once more. There are talks again. Some want peace. They offer land, respect, a seat in the assembly. Laura turned to him. Peace now. After all this, now they remember us. Isn't that what we wanted? For them to listen. Jacob asked. Laura was quiet. Then she said, they listened too late. The ship moved on. Another world waited. Another lesson to teach. And all across the stars, the name of the Black Dawn was whispered. Not as a ship, but as a warning. Asterisk, the world of Calerian was ready. It had strong shields, large fleets, and millions of trained soldiers. The leaders of the Galactic Assembly had promised their people that this world would stop the Black Dawn. They said humanity had finally met its match. Ships filled the sky above Calarian. Fighters moved in tight patterns. Large battlecruisers floated like heavy clouds. The planet below glowed with shield grids and weapon towers. On the bridge of the Black Dawn, Captain Laura Green watched the screen. She studied the defenses without blinking. Jacob Barnes stood beside her. He spoke in a low voice. "This is not like the others. They are ready for us." Laura nodded. "Let them be ready." Down below, Megan, Blake, and Eric Lane checked the reactor core. They had no orders. Most of the crew stayed silent now. They did what they were told, but many had started to feel the weight of what they were doing. "They think they can stop us," Eric said. Megan shook her head. "They don't know what this ship can do." The battle began. Calarian's fleet moved first. Thousands of small ships flew toward the Black Dawn. Their weapons lit up the space between the stars. Laura gave one command: "Return fire." The Black Dawn did not move fast, but it moved smart. Every cannon blast hit. Fighters broke apart. Large ships lost power and fell into the planet's gravity for each human shot. 10 enemy ships fell, but the numbers kept coming. Calarian's fleet was big. Their ships were strong. For the first time, the Black Dawn took damage. The lights flickered. Walls shook. Fires broke out in 2 sections. Laura stayed calm. Her voice never rose. She gave clear orders. The crew followed. Her lead. Hours passed. The space around Calarian turned into wreckage. Ship parts floated, some still burning. The enemy fleet was broken, but the planet still stood. Calarian's shield pulsed with power. Their ground weapons fired into space. The Black Dawn circled above like a storm. Jacob turned to Laura. "Do we stop now? We made our point." Laura looked at him. They did not stop when Earth begged. "We will not stop now." She gave the order. The Black Dawn charged its main weapon. A beam of light struck the planet's shield. The shield held. Then the beam grew stronger. The shield cracked like glass. The second blast hit the cities. Towers fell. Fires rose. Calarian, the pride of the assembly, was silent within minutes. Back on Earth, President Helen Carter watched the live feed. Her face showed no joy, only resolve. "Now they will listen," she said. Across the galaxy, leaders held emergency meetings. They watched one planet fall after another. They spoke in panic. "We must surrender," one said. "We must attack their home," said another. "We must try to speak to them again," said a third. But no one had answers. The warships moved without mercy. The assembly's power was gone. On the Black Dawn, Jacob met with Megan and Eric in secret. "We have to do something," Jacob said. "She will not stop." "I tried talking to her," Megan said. "She won't listen. She believes this is the only way." Eric looked down. "Maybe it is too late to stop her, but maybe we can stop the ship." Jacob paused. "How?" "If we destroy the core, the ship dies. No more attacks." Jacob nodded slowly. "But we might die too." "If we do nothing, more worlds will burn," Eric said. They made their plan. Later that night, Jacob went to Laura's quarters. She sat at a table, looking at a small screen. It showed Earth as it used to be, green, blue, full of life. "Do you ever wonder what comes after this?" Jacob asked. "I don't think about after," she said. "Only now, only justice. But what if this is not justice anymore? What if we have become what we hated?" Laura looked at him. "Then let the galaxy learn what that feels like." He left her without another word. Down in the engine room, Megan and Eric worked fast. They reached the core and opened the control panels. They set a timer. 10 minutes. Enough time to get away, if they were lucky. But the alarm sounded. Someone had seen them. Security came fast. Megan was caught. Eric ran. On the bridge, lights turned red. Laura looked at the screen. What happened? A crew member answered. There was an attempt to shut down the core. Eric Lane is missing. Megan Blake is in custody. Jacob stood up. I sent them. Laura turned. You. Yes, because this is wrong. We proved our point. It's over. Laura stared at him. For the first time, her voice shook. They left us. They let Earth die. And we made them remember, Jacob said. But if we keep going, we become them. Laura said nothing. Suddenly, a second alarm went off. Eric had reached the core again. The timer started. 5 minutes. Laura ran from the bridge. She reached the engine room just as Eric stood beside the core. Turn it off, she said. Double quotes, no. This ends here, Eric said. We saved our pride. Now we save what's left of our soul. Laura raised her weapon. Eric stood still. She lowered it. You win, she whispered. She turned and walked away. The countdown stopped. The black dawn floated above a quiet planet. The fires from past battles had faded. The sky was calm. There were no enemies now. No more fleets. No more voices shouting in the assembly. Only silence. Inside the ship, the crew moved slowly. The war was over, but the feeling of peace had not returned. Everyone walked with heavy steps. They had seen too much. Done too much. Captain Laura Green sat alone in her quarters. Her eyes stared at a small screen that showed old news recordings. Children playing in a park. Music from Earth. Smiles from a world that no longer existed. She closed the screen and looked at her reflection in the dark glass. Her face looked older, not from age, but from pain. She remembered the beginning, the betrayal, the silence, the fire dot. Jacob Barnes walked into the room. He did not salute. They had stopped doing that now. We received a message, he said. The assembly wants to talk. They want to meet on neutral ground. Laura looked at him. Now they want peace. Yes, Jacob said. They want to stop the fear. She nodded slowly. What do we say? Jacob sat across from her. Maybe nothing. Maybe it's time to listen. Far across the galaxy, on a small station near the edge of assembly space, leaders gathered. Some were old enemies. Some had once stood against Earth. Now they sat at the same table. Chairwoman Dana Brooks led the talks. She looked tired but strong. We must begin again, she said. We must write the truth. Not just for the humans, for everyone. The room was silent for a long time. Then, one by one, the others agreed. Back on the Black Dawn, Megan, Blake, and Eric Lane worked in the control room. They no longer watched targets. Instead, they helped fix systems damaged by battle. They repaired what was broken. It's strange, Megan said. We spent so long breaking things. Now we're learning to build again. Eric gave a small smile. It feels better. In the deep parts of the ship, a small group of new recruits trained in silence. They had not fought in the war. They had come. After, they listened to the older crew. They learned not just about weapons, but about mistakes. A week later, Laura stood before the crew. The lights were low. Everyone was quiet. You all know what we did, she said. You know why we did it. But now the time has come to choose a different path. We do not forget the past, but we do not repeat it. No one clapped, no one cheered, but heads nodded. It was not joy. It was something deeper. It was understanding. The Black Dawn changed course. It turned away from the battle lines. It moved toward the meeting point. The assembly waited with caution. Small ships circled the station. Defense systems were ready, but not armed. Laura arrived with Jacob, Megan, and Eric. They walked slowly through the station halls. People stared, some with fear, some with respect. In the main hall, Dana Brooks stood waiting. She stepped forward and held out her hand. "We welcome you," she said. Laura looked at the hand for a moment. Then she shook it. They sat at a long table. No guards, no weapons, just voices. Dana began. "What happened to Earth was wrong. We failed you. We failed your people." Laura nodded. "And we made you remember." "You did," Dana said. "But now we must do more than remember. We must change." The talks lasted for hours. They did not speak only of war. They spoke of rebuilding, of sharing knowledge, of protecting the weak. In the end, an agreement was signed, not just between humans and the assembly, but between many worlds. A new council was formed, not ruled by fear, but by truth. When Laura returned to the Black Dawn, the crew waited. She told them what happened, that Earth would be part of the galaxy again, that warships like theirs would no longer be needed. "We are not destroyers now," she said. "We are protectors." Years passed. The Black Dawn stayed in space, but it changed. The weapons were locked. New rooms were added. Scientists, teachers, and diplomats came aboard. The ship became a symbol, not of fear, but of strength with purpose. On Earth, cities grew again. Children played in parks. Music filled the air. People remembered, but they also hoped. Megan Blake became a lead engineer, building peaceful ships for travel and rescue. Eric Lane taught at a space academy, helping young people understand war, but also peace. Jacob Barnes served as a speaker. In the new council, he spoke calmly and clearly. He never let anyone forget. And Laura Green, she retired. She returned to a small home near the sea. She walked each morning and looked at the sky. One evening, she sat on a bench and watched the sunset. A young girl ran past, laughing. Her mother followed, smiling. Laura smiled too. For the first time in years, it felt real. She closed her eyes and whispered to the wind. We came back from the dark, and we did not lose ourselves. And the wind, soft and steady, carried the words far beyond the sea, to the stars. Asterisk, the sky over Earth was bright. The sun rose over the rebuilt cities. Green trees lined the streets. Children ran and laughed. People smiled again. It had been 10 years since the Black Dawn stopped its war. The ship was now a peacekeeper, floating near different planets, helping where it could. It had become a symbol of warning, but also of hope. Laura Green had lived a quiet life after she left the ship. Her small house was near the ocean. Every morning, she walked along the beach. She spoke to no one unless they spoke to her first. One morning, she saw a small ship land near her house. 2 people stepped out. She knew them at once. It was Megan Blake and Eric Lane. Laura waited as they walked up the path. Megan smiled. "It's been a long time," she said. Laura nodded. "Yes, too long." Eric looked around. "Nice place. Quiet." "That's why I chose it," Laura said. They sat outside, near the water. The wind was soft, the sky clear. Megan spoke first. "The new council wants to speak with you." Laura looked at her. "Why?" "They want your help. There's a problem." "What kind of problem?" Laura asked. Eric looked serious. "A group from the old days. Some humans. They found an old warship. Not like the Black Dawn, but dangerous. They think the war should have never stopped." Laura closed her eyes for a moment. "Where are they now?" "Near the edge of known space. A small planet called Javan. They took over the colony there." Megan leaned forward. "They call themselves the Flame of Earth. They say peace made us weak. They want to strike first again." Laura stood up and looked out at the sea. "You want me to go back," she said. "Only if you choose to," Eric said. "But people still remember your name. If you speak, they might listen." Laura turned to them. "Give me one day, then I'll decide." That night, Laura sat by the window. She looked at the stars. She remembered the battles, the lives lost, the choices made. She thought of the young girl on the beach, of the future in the morning. She walked to the ship waiting near her home. Megan and Eric were there. "I'll go," she said, "but I go to stop them, not to lead them." The journey to Javan took 3 days. The new ship was fast and quiet. On the way, Laura read reports. The Flame of Earth had taken control of weapons. They had forced the colony to help them. When they arrived, the planet looked peaceful. But in orbit, an old ship floated. It was large and ugly, not like the Black Dawn. It had been made in secret. In the final days of the war, inside, angry voices called for action. Their leader was a man named Ryan Cole. He had been a pilot during the early battles. He had left the service before the war ended. "Peace is weakness," he said to his followers. "The galaxy fears us, and we must remind them why." Laura, Megan, and Eric landed near the colony. The people there were afraid. Soldiers of the Flame of Earth watched everyone. Laura asked to speak to Ryan. After some time, he agreed. They met in a large hall inside the colony station. "I didn't think you would come," Ryan said. "I didn't want to," Laura replied. "But I had to. You're making a mistake." Ryan stood tall. His voice was strong. "You started this. You made them fear us. And now you walk away." Laura shook her head. "I stopped when it was time." "You want to start again, but this time it will not end well. We have the ship. We have the will," Ryan said. "You have fear, and fear is not strength," Laura said. Some of Ryan's followers listened. Others looked unsure. One of them, a young woman named Nora, stepped forward. "Why should we stop? The assembly still has power. They still look down on us." "Not anymore," Laura said. "We are part of it now. We have a voice. But if we strike again, we lose that voice. We go back to being alone." Ryan pointed at her. "Went soft. You forgot what they did." Laura walked closer. Her voice was calm. "I never forgot. That's why I stopped. So it would never happen again." There was silence in the room. Then Nora spoke again. "What happens if we surrender?" "Then you go home," Laura said. "You build, you live, you help." Ryan turned away. He looked at his people. Some turned their eyes. Others dropped their weapons. After a long moment he spoke. "I won't fight humans. Not today." He walked out of the room. The others followed. The Flame of Earth ended without a battle. Later, Laura sat outside the colony. Megan joined her. You did it again, she said. No, Laura said. They did. They chose the better path. The new ship flew back to Earth. Peace was still fragile, but it held. The stars above were quiet, and the black dawn, floating far away, watched them all